I do think there's a scenario where we see the gloves come off for Justin Gaethje. I don't know that I'm ready to see those gloves come off for the final time in the middle of the octagon, but if it goes poorly, that's certainly a possibility here that we might be seeing the last of the great Justin Gaethje.
Welcome to First Strike, only on VSiN, the sports betting network. Here's your hosts, Dave Ross and Rob Moreno.
We are back, First Strike here on VSiN. I'm your host, Dave Ross, and what a pleasure it is to be joined by Jordan Sherwood from the great city of Chicago. Rob Moreno, who's a Miami guy. We're going to have Rob on here in a little bit, Jordan, and get his El Modelo plays here for UFC 324. Man, it's good to see you. It's good to be back and talking about a big-time pay-per-view like we have this weekend with 2 title fights. Before we get to all that, you're in Chicago. How's everybody recovering from the Bears loss? Is everybody okay in Chicago?
Yeah, I think now that we're 24 with 72 hours removed, whatever it is, from the Bears. I think now we're reflecting back on the season, how great it was.
There we go.
And I think I was just talking about this with someone else. I think I've never been more excited about an off season that I can remember. And if you think about the last 2 off seasons, new head coach or search for a new head coach, got one. Before that, new quarterback. Like, they're there. They're at the precipice right now with a quarterback and a coach that everybody in this city believes in, that they can do right, and they have a window now to be competitive. But as you would know, there's a little bit of that pessimistic Chicago fan in me. Like, we've seen a lot of these pocket seasons where they're really good, we're feeling good, 12 wins, 13 wins, whatever, and then go back to reality. So hopefully it's not the latter, it's the former. And we're talking about Chicago being a competitive team for the next decade with the 2 guys they have at the helm.
And that's why you got to follow Jordan on X at Wood on ESPN 1000 to get more than just UFC talk. I had to ask you about those Bears for my 8 years there. I know what it's like after those playoff disappointments, but it does feel like glass half full a little bit this time around. Let's get to UFC 324, man. It's been over a month. We've been waiting and waiting for the
Yeah.
UFC. We've never seen Dana White take this much time off between cards. It might be a record for Dana and the company here. And now we get Justin Gaethje out there in the main event against Paddy, the baddie, Pimblett. We got Sean O'Malley against Song Yadong. That's going to be the co-main event. That's not a title fight. Obviously, as the other title fight was canceled here between the women, but that has now been moved up to the co-main event. Before I get those plays that you have on there for the co-main and the main, you've got a Silva and Silva parlay that you like this week. One on the men's side, one on the women's side. What do you have for the people?
Yeah. It's not the law firm of Silva and Silva, but I do like both John Silva over Arnold Allen and Natalia Silva over Rose Namajunas. I think John Silva has a very good matchup, a good bounce back opportunity after he was humbled by Diego Lopez. Obviously, a guy like that, powerful striker, sometimes throws caution to the wind and gets himself in precarious position like he did. But I do believe he'll have the power and striking advantage over Arnold Allen. And I don't think, if at all, grappling would be exposed by his opponent in Arnold Allen. And Arnold Allen's a great fighter, like very
Yep.
good, well-rounded, been at the top of the heap of the featherweight division for a long time. I just don't think that he's going to carry the power that might, prevent John Silva with getting a little bit aggressive in the fight. I don't like the line currently as it's priced for John Silva. I think he's too big of a favorite. It's a little bit of a disrespect to Arnold Allen, but I want to get that number down. So that's why I'm, creating this law firm, because I think Natalia Silva is the next up and comer in her division. I think this win would get her a title shot. And I think Rose Namajunas is solid. Like, she's one of the best fighters we've ever seen, former champion. No disrespect for her, but I think her better days are behind her. I don't think she's going to have an advantage decisively in any type of a meaningful area. And unless you were talking about this fight being a 5-round fight and the experience factor, which it's not, I think Natalia Silva gets the win. Get that price down because she's a heavy favorite, 4-1. So we're looking at what, about $1.85, $1.90 if you couple, I think, the two of them together.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too there is, again, we've seen this in women's MMA here, Jordan. You and I have talked about this for years now. You look at those totals in women's fights, and they're going to be normally juiced heavily to the overs here. And this one in the 3-round matchup between Namajunas and Silva, the over is minus 450. Silva is about a $4 betting favorite here. Would you rather just lay the extra 50 cents and take out that head kick from Rose and assume that this fight at least gets over 2.5 rounds?
Yeah, I do. I don't think either women is finishing the other. especially because of what we've seen from Natalia Silva. I mean, she's beaten former champions or former title challengers, or had champions too with Jessica Andrade.
Yep.
But she's winning by decision. She's just winning and just dominating wherever she needs to. And I just don't think that Rose Namajunas is going to land one of those head kicks that we've seen before. So that's why also as a separate play, I do like Silva via decision. So get that $4 price down to $1.90. I think she wins. She'll do enough on 2 to 3 judges' scorecards over 2 rounds, to get that win. But again, looking at this card as a whole, Dave, this is an example. There's not a lot of price points I like on the
Yeah.
straight up money line. Like, there's not a lot of favorable matchups that I'm seeing in opportunities. So I need to get a lot of those prices down, which I think a lot of people, a lot of smart handicappers, will put out parlays or combination of over 1.5, 2.5, and the fighter to win.
I've got one of those coming up later, a bit later on the show. That's a little a foreshadowing there from Jordan,
Oh,
so I'm picking up what
definition of
you're
a
putting down.
tease by Dave Ross.
I want to ask you about the Black Beast because we got Derek Lewis back in there against Salsa Boy and Waldo Acosta Acosta here. And so now when you look at Derek Lewis here against Salsa Boy, he's plus 267. I'm seeing as the dog price here. If you want to get on Waldo's side, you got to lay over $3 to 330. Do you think we get the Black Beast being live? Like Salsa Boy is for a big heavyweight, right? He can move inside that octagon. He's not going to wrestle, so Derek Lewis doesn't have to worry about that. Is he going to be, I don't want to say dumb enough, but would he stand in front of the beast with that movement and Derek Lewis to try to catch him?
Here's the one. Here's the one price point with the money line, and especially now with it being a dog. I'm taking a hard look at it. Yeah, because Waldo is a very good boxer,
Yep,
fluid movement. Could have been like arguably up for fighter of the year last year, just the amount of activity he did, and wins that he had. But he's not going to wrestle, as you just alluded to. Is he going to outbox Derek Lewis for 3 rounds? Well, maybe, but Derek Lewis only loses to superior grapplers like Jalton Almeida
yep,
or guys that have better knockout power than him. Waldo doesn't. So, like, do I believe that Derek Lewis is like looking at the heavyweight division and it's up in arms and thinking to himself, wait, if I get a victory over Waldo and then maybe one more, I'm right in the mix for a title shot. And
yeah,
that's a sad statement to say. I love Derek Lewis, but that's a sad statement to say at the state of affairs for the heavyweight division. But it's reality.
yeah,
So yes, I will believe that without grappling, without the power advantage, that Derek Lewis can land one strike. And we saw Waldo get knocked out
yep.
essentially one fight ago, but then the doctor stoppage, finger in the eye, and then he bounces back. I'm gonna take the Black Beast to jumpstart this Paramount, plus, UFC reign with at a plus 260 price, Dave. How can you not?
Yeah, and again, you see the total here at 7.5 minutes, a round and a half. It is slightly juiced to the over at minus $1.40, but it's showing you exactly what Jordan's getting at here, people, which is there is a potential for an early stoppage. I don't think that's coming from Salsa Boy. If anybody goes down early, you would think that would be Derek Lewis getting that one shot that you're alluding to, Jordan, and getting that finish. You might not have official plays in the main or the co-main yet, but I want to get your thoughts on the fight and I'll start off with the co-main event here. Song Yadong is a sizable underdog against the Sugar Show and Sean O'Malley. I get the feeling that this is tailor-made for Sean O'Malley, with all due respect to Song Yadong, who I think is a really tough out, can be a very big striker in his own right. But the quickness of a guy like O'Malley, I think, is going to be problematic for Song Yadong. Do you think that at least the fight is priced accordingly?
Yeah, I do. And I think the only reason why I would fade Sean O'Malley is because of what we'll get out of Sean O'Malley. No disrespect to Song Yadong, but I think he's just outclassed kind of everywhere this fight goes. If Sean O'Malley's right and he looks at an opportunity to say, hey, there's a new champion in my division. It's not Merab
Mhm.
Dvalishvili. It's Peter Yan, a guy that I beat. Like, if I'm look impressive, I'll probably have to wait for that trilogy fight, but I could be next in line for it. So decisive striking advantage. His reach is always difficult to game plan for. And Yadong, I just don't think is going to have the grappling, back in his back pocket to rely on. So, yeah, I think Sean O'Malley is the rightful favorite in this fight. He'll probably go into a parlay that I look at later on. The combined to it. Maybe he gets added to that law firm, right? It's
Yeah,
Silva and O'Malley. I don't know,
that's
but it's some sort of combination of that. But I do think also probably the over in that fight too.
yeah.
I don't know if either one of those guys is landing something that it's a fight changer.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And again, a little foreshadowing of what I've got on the card here. That over, by the way, juiced heavily at 2.5 rounds here, minus 275. So again, if it's that style of fight, you would think that O'Malley on the judges' scorecards, as you said, he beat Peter Yan, right?
Yeah.
That's one
Yeah.
of those deals
Yeah.
where when it went to the cards, it seems to favor O'Malley. So you kind of have a double out there if you're back in the sugar show. In the main event, look, maybe we've been looking to fade Paddy Pimblett for years now. And those, if you've been doing that, has not been profitable here because he has not lost in the UFC yet. Is this a spot where Paddy Pimblett could get upset against the highlight and Justin Gaethje? Again, 5-round bout potentially here. And again, it's juiced right there at 2.5 rounds. So I think right now they're telling you it's line. We're not sure if it's going to be an early night or a late night here at the climax of UFC 324. What do you make of Gaethje now as a $2 betting underdog against Paddy the Baddy?
Look, I don't mind the people that are on Gaethje. I think there's a rightful reason. This is his last dance. He's a guy that still carries knockout power. Those leg kicks are very difficult to game plan for. We have seen him fight smart. I go back to even, the fight against Tony Ferguson. Like, no one thought he was going to fight the way that he did, and he did. And Patty gets tagged in every fight, and he has yet to fight a guy. Chandler even got him a little bit and had us worry. So if Gagey hits him at some point, yeah, that's a difficult thing to think about. I think we still kind of question Patty's cardio. And this is, as you just said, a 5-round fight. But I think Paddy the Baddy is going to outclass. I think we're going to see one of those, fights where we've seen in the past, like guy getting his first opportunity and looks great for 5 rounds, shows us he can go five, dominate for five, and earn the right to fight for a championship. And that is a mega fight if Paddy gets his hand raised to challenge his best friend, right? Elliot Taporia. There's a conflict there. There's a great fight to be made there if they could do it. So I think Paddy should be the right, but it's not a confident. I'm not going to add him to the law firm. And depending on how the night goes, it'll be Paddy and probably still inside the distance. I'm not going to go yet and say he's going to win the judges' scorecard. I think he gets Gagey out of there at some point.
Again, this is an interim lightweight championship bout here, so it'll be very, very interesting who gets their hand raised, who gets that belt. But I do think there's a scenario where we see the gloves come off for Justin Gaethje. I don't know that I'm ready to see those gloves come off for the final time in the middle of the octagon, but if it goes poorly, that's certainly a possibility here that we might be seeing the last of the great Justin Gaethje. Jordan, great stuff as always, my man. Stay warm there in the great city of Chicago. Keep those Bear fans, right? Glass half full. It was a really
Glass
good
half
year.
full. Yeah.
And let's have a really good start to the UFC year at UFC 324. Appreciate your time as always.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
There he is, Jordan Sherwood. Everybody give him a follow at Wood on ESPN 1000. We are back with El Modelo, Rob Moreno next right here on First Strike.
You're tuned in to First Strike, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
And we continue First Strike here on VSiN. Dave Ross alongside El Modelo, Rob Moreno. Rob, always great to have you back on, my man. Again, everybody, if you are not a VSiN Pro subscriber, really, this is a great time of the year to do so. It's $9.99 for an intro offer here. If you're new to the network here, not only do you get our great podcast, Rob, and First Strike, you get access to all of our podcasts that we have in the network, and certainly get you ready for the Super Bowl, get you ready for March Madness. I'm a golf guy as well. We'll get you ready for Augusta National here. So $9.99 intro offer for your very first month. All you have to do is go to VSiN.com/subscribe. And Rob, again, you know all the people in the network, as do I. And it's pretty much it's a smorgasbord, a little bit of everything for somebody out there.
Oh, that's definitely the best way to describe our panel of hosts. It's a
Yeah.
smorgasbord of all sorts of personalities, but all sorts of knowledge too. I mean, long shots just got kicked off. Kelly, Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds.
Amazing.
As you talked about golf, I mean, it's such a tough sport to bet, and those guys handle it every week. We just had college football end, but I mean, Tim Murray, Wes Reynolds again. Talking about knowledge, those guys were crushing it during college football. So yeah,
Yeah.
VSiN.com is where to check it all out.
There it is. So let's get back to our conversation. We can't wait now for the first one. And what a way to kick off Paramount. You do it with a pay per view, UFC 324. I know we lose a title fight here with the women, and that a little bit disappointing there. But we have neck surgery for Kayla Harrison. First of all, we just hope she's going to be okay. I'm sure that the Lioness, Amanda Nunes, is going to understand. And hopefully we'll get that fight at some point. But that was devastating news for this card. Let's get to the model projections. And let's go right to the top here. And, we just had Jordan Sherwood on. He has not gotten to the Paddy side here, kind of leans that way. I'll give you my play a little bit later. I hope the model sees it the way I do. What are you seeing in this fight? Because I have a betting respect for Paddy Pimblett. In full disclosure, I've looked to fade Paddy in the past, never got to the window against him, ended up always betting on him, and I've never lost a ticket on Paddy Pimblett. And I got to tell you, unless the model tells me otherwise, I don't think I'm going to start now.
So, very similarly, I think I spent the last few years waiting for that moment to fade Paddy, um, because it felt like his opponents were being given to him, right? And
Absolutely.
but it never felt comfortable enough to go the other way. I mean, and that's kind of one of the things that worries me, and something I kind of measured properly in the model is their strength of schedule. I mean, Justin Gaethje's faced everybody. He's been in wars with who you name him in
Oh,
the
yeah.
division. He's been in there with them. Paddy Pimblett has not. I mean, I looked at his last 4 opponents. You're talking about Bobby Green, King Green. I'm blanking on his opponents. Tony Ferguson, Michael
Yep.
Chandler, Jared Gordon. There we go. Combined, their last 4 each, it's a 5-11 record.
Yeah.
You know, it's not exactly this like murders row. Maybe back in the day for some of those guys, but they weren't exactly at their peak when they faced Paddy Pimblett. It's not exactly the championship road you imagine for a contender. But man, putting these 2 side by side statistically, the model goes Paddy's way. I mean, everything, there's no activity thing. They've both fought only about 2 times in the last 2 years. But
Yeah,
for
very
Paddy, it's
inactive. Yeah.
correct. Both of them very inactive, actually. But for Paddy, it's been these very successful fights. Whereas for Justin, yes, it was a strong decision victory over Rafael Fiziev most
Mhm.
recently. But you go back 2 years ago, and it was the brutal fight he had against Max Holloway. We all know
Crazy.
how that ended. So
Mhm.
there's this crazy disparity, different story that's being told. Paddy has a reach advantage, and mind you, I know his strength of schedule is definitely on the weaker end, but his XR percentage is 76%. That's still very strong. Justin Gaethje, for who he's fought, we will respect that. His XR percentage is 46%. So just on paper, he's losing most of the rounds he's in, which is bad because his style kind of breeds that, right? Get into the
Yep.
chaos. Now, will he fight a different fight because it's a title fight now? We'll see. We can just judge what's on paper. But Gaethje striking, let's just say he has a high output, but he absorbs 7.18 significant strikes per minute. That's not a way to go. And something that Lou talked about last week on First Strike, Lou Finicaro, was the age, right? It's now he's getting to 37 years old. There's a
Yep.
6 age year gap. Um, so those strikes are going to mean so much more. Paddy Pimblett, not exactly a power striker per se, but he fights very clean. 5.19 landed per minute, 2.08 differential, meaning he only absorbs 3.1 per minute. So it's a
Yep.
much cleaner fight on his end. And he's never been knocked down. He's never been stopped in the UFC. And in his career, he does have 11 submissions. His grappling isn't exactly off the charts when you put it on paper, but we know he's dangerous. If he can grab a hold of you, he will potentially grab that sub. And if
Yep.
Justin might overthink something, overcommit to something, who's to say Paddy can't grab it? I don't love the number, but I did take a bite of it at -220. I just thought it's going to keep going up. It did go up this morning, -230, but I'm on Paddy here. As you said, I've been waiting to fade him, and I don't think it's time. Maybe it's time to fade him as interim champion, but by then he'll be dog probably against Ilya
Yeah.
Taporia. But here we are.
I see it the same way. And, spoiler alert, I'm on the Paddy Pimblett side again. I'm going to keep riding with them. I think that it's a fair number. I played the 220 as well and kind of predicted that this number would start to go up. So hopefully people have been out there listening to us on VSiN by the book. Shout out to Jensen Lewis. And I gave that out with Lou Finicaro. That I really do think that's a good number to get now. And it's not going to be there when we get to fight night here on Saturday night. Also, that total, it tells me that the bookmakers do not know where to go with that total at 2.5. It's pretty evenly juiced right now to get to halfway through this fight. I would think a core way to play, if you're on the Gaethje side, I'd wait. I think the longer the fight goes, if Gaethje's still there, Maybe he could wear out that suspect cardio of Pimblett never being in a spot like this. Later in a championship type fight, maybe that cardio starts to go and Gaethje might be able to get him out of there. And I do think there's the opportunity for Paddy to hurt Gaethje and hop around that back and try to secure something, whether it's not even taking it to the ground, almost like a standing type submission attempt. I could see that playing out because Pimblett to me looks so much bigger, physically bigger than Gaethje, that I worry about that for the Justin side, that if he gets dazed and confused for a second, it might not be a takedown he's got to worry about. And I don't know that you really want to grapple with Gaethje. We know he's still a decorated grappler. I could look for something standing, some sort of rear naked choke mounting from the back. So we'll just keep that in mind. Maybe Pimblett by submission is not a bad plus money price point to get out there. In the co-main event, and I mentioned this with Jordan, I do look at O'Malley and go, why are you making this fight with Song Yadong, who I really respect, but it does feel like if you're trying to promote it's Paramount Plus, you're looking for star power. Doesn't it feel like this is a good spot for O'Malley to get kind of those good Sugar Show vibes back again?
It does. It really does. Because let's face it, Sean's on that two fight losing streak. It's to Merab Dvalishvili though. It's two
Yeah.
straight in a row. And at the end of the day, you got to look at that loss and see what caused him to lose those fights. What was the factor that changed it? Well, it's obviously the grappling.
No doubt.
Song Yadong is not exactly Merab Dvalishvili. He's not going to chain together 40 takedowns and
No.
just stick to his leg like a hungry dog. No, it's this is a striking match, and that's exactly what Sean O'Malley needs. And even Song Yadong has an 11th month layoff as well. He last beat Henry Cejudo via technical decision, by the way. It wasn't exactly a full battle war. So we're talking
Right.
about some time off for Song Yadong as well. Um, O'Malley has all the striking metrics to get this done. 5-inch reach advantage, very similar XR percentages. So they both do win their fights on paper. It will be a competitive striking match, but it's in the small details. O'Malley, 6.30 significant strikes landed per minute. Very good with a 2.88 differential. So he's not getting hit a lot for how much he outputs. Also 61% accuracy. So he can, as we've seen, sometimes it takes one shot and it just lands right on the chin. He does
Right.
have 6 knockdowns, but we do have to respect Song Yadong, who has 7 knockdowns. He also has that power. Not as accurate, also not as high of output, but you have to respect the aggressiveness. It's crazy to say because Sean O'Malley, it feels like he hasn't been around a long time, but
Mhm.
Song Yadong here is the younger up and comer versus Sean O'Malley, former champion now. And Jordan mentioned it. Peter Yan's the champion now. Sean O'Malley has a victory over him. I think it's perfect for Sean O'Malley to get this win, get out of there. Now, the model does lean Sean O'Malley. It gives him a 68% win probability. My issue is that the market now, this morning, minus 205, we've kind of lost any type of edge there. But you and I spoke last week, and he was around minus 190. I took it at minus 190 because I just felt that it was just that small sliver of edge in the money line. And so I grabbed it. It is at minus 205. I'd say tread carefully if you're planning on playing him above the minus 200 number. I don't, being that it's this Paramount card, first card of the year, I don't think it goes down again, but it might. It's still kissing around minus 205, but I think the public loves Sugar Sean O'Malley. But yeah, the official plays on Sean O'Malley for me.
Right there. Great minds think alike. And I always love it when the model backs it. I did the same thing you did. I did play it last week at minus $1.90, did a little parlay, gave it out by the books as well. Minus $1.90 on the Sugar Show and minus 220 on Paddy to get me some plus money in that 2-leg parlay. Also did a 3-legger with Indiana to win the national championship. So now that's going to be up to 2-1 here with that first leg already in. But for the UFC 324 purposes, I feel like that's still a fair number to play. Rob, I actually think this number might get closer to 250 with the
Wow.
public money that might come in. And so I think what we're trying to say, if you're listening here, wherever you get your podcast, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe to your boys here on VSiN by the Books, by the way. Uh, I do think that number is going to go up dramatically in the next 3 days. So if you're on the Sugar Show like we are, I think this is the last of the value, Rob. That's what you're getting at there too. I would play it now, people. Do not wait. I'm with you. I don't see this coming back down. If anything, I think it's going to balloon up in the other direction here. So our advice here would be to back the Sugar Show. I can still get it around $2. We got it at $1.90, but I don't know if those price points are going to come back anymore. Umar is back on the fight card. If you want to back Umar Nurmagomedov, Rob, you got to lay 1,500 to win 100. You want to do that?
Easy. This 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 number feels disrespectful
Oh,
considering
it
who's
is.
on the other side of it. You know, every time you look at it, you're like, okay, Umar Nurmagomedov minus 1450. Of course. Who's he fighting? Oh, former champion
Hey,
and just
listen.
absolute dog, Davison Figueiredo, plus 850. Now, running through the model, it is all Umar Nurmagomedov. But I'm not playing that. This isn't a parlay piece. I'm not even sure there's value in his method of victories,
Yeah.
because who knows? But and I'm not telling people to bite at Figueiredo. And I actually want to ask you here, knowing Umar is probably the rightful favorite, and you're not going to want to bite of that price. I found fight to go the distance at only minus 150, or the over 2.5. As you can see, it's only minus 175. What say you at those props if you're leaning the Umar side, but not obviously wanting to lay that price?
Because I have so much respect for Figueredo like you do, right? We've watched him for years and what a dog he can be. I think he might go out on his shield. And what I mean by that is inside of 2.5 rounds. That if
Mm.
I might look for Umar inside the distance if you can find those props out there. I don't have that readily available at some of the books I play here in the Tennessee Kentucky border. But if you can find those, that might be the way I go. Because, Rob, I think at some point, if you're a $1,500 betting favorite as Umar is, he does know that he might not know the exact line, but he knows he's a massive favorite. Riding out a 3-round decision, is that really going to do something for the promotion? As we're talking about being on Paramount, they're looking for finishers. They're looking for people to finish and put butts in seats and make you go watch him. And I think that's what's been lacking a little bit from the Umar side here. So Figueredo is going to be a guy that he's going to be available to be hit. He's going to be available to be taken down and submitted. That's where I think Umar can really kind of turn around his reputation a little bit as a massive favorite. So I think Figgy's live early. I do. I think he's got the proverbial puncher's chance early. But if Umar is smart, he goes, all right, you want to get in a firefight? Maybe I'll do that early. But when I get you down, I'm not looking to control you. I'm going to look to finish you. So to me, it would be Umar inside the distance to shorten that up. Because I don't think Figgy's going to be there for all 15 unless he's gonna go, man, I can't win this fight on the cards, so I gotta kill or be killed. And he might actually, I mean, there's an outside shot, maybe Figgy by KO. Might be even a bigger way to play it because that's the only scenario I'd see him winning this fight. Or it's going to be Umar to me inside the distance, but there's always the chance that he rides out a victory. But that's not going to excite Dana White, Sean Shelby, and the power structure that is now with UFC and Paramount.
And you're very right. The Paramount era, as we kind of talked about last week,
Yeah.
we're looking for entertainment now. We're not looking for just lay and win, and we're not guys that complained about that. We understand there's
No.
technique and everything involved. But you're right. New eyes want to see fights and they want to see just wars. And if you're hungry for that, Umar Nurmagomedov to win by knockout submission or disqualification obviously is on the listing. Yes, plus 125. So you can turn that minus
Bam.
1450 into a tiny little dog price. And if you're really feeling froggy early on in the fight, Figueiredo to win inside the distance, 18-1.
Oh, that's the only way he wins, people. He's not winning on the cards. So I would take the 18-1, even a longer shot if you want to be on the Figgy side. Boy, you could do it. Figgy at 18-1, small plus money on Umar inside the distance. You just hope that the fight does not go
Seriously.
all 3 rounds, right? What about Rose? Thug Rose, we love her. Rose by any other name is still a former champion in Nama Yunus. Taking on Natalia Silva. Silva feels like, as we talk with Jordan, that she could be on the precipice of a title fight. This is the type of name fighter you want to have as a scalp, if you will, in MMA parlance to say, hey, I beat, Rose, it still has a name quality to carry with it. Do you run the risk of that, of Silva by decision? Rose can be a slow starter, but if she's in there for all 15, she always feels live in my book.
Yes. And that's where I've kind of decided to hold back on actually betting the fight so far. Now, originally, this fight was Rose Namajunas versus Alexa Grasso, so it
Right.
is quote unquote short notice. But this Natalia stepped in around beginning of December, so it is a decent sized fight camp. And you're right, she wants to add someone like Rose Namajunas to her resume because she just added Alexa Grasso to her resume.
Right.
So she gets those 2 wins in a row. She's much in line for a title fight. And once again, we're talking about the Paramount era. You want the younger, as Lufin Akaro would mention, um, less to pay fighter that you can rise to the top
There
immediately,
you go.
back into the title contention. And I think everything Jordan said was right. I think Rose's best days are probably behind her. And yeah, she's coming off a win over Miranda Maverick, but I think Natalia Silva knows her skill set and knows what she has the capability of doing. Natalia Silva's XR percentage, 80%, by the way. Rose down at 59. Striking, everything leans Silva's way. Knockdowns, Rose does have some power. We've seen it. 6 knockdowns to her, which is a lot to say for this division.
Mm.
But neither has ever been knocked down, is the interesting part, especially for Rose, who's been in quite some striking matchups. Um, but grappling, it's not gonna be the main staple here, but Natalia Silva can't even stop there. She's got 92% takedown defense, so she's gonna prefer to keep at a distance, so will Rose. It all just leans her way. The model gives Natalia Silva 62% win probability. The issue is, as you mentioned, the market has just ballooned up here. We're looking at -410. I mean, when I was doing these
Wow.
notes, Natalia was -380. Natalia is now -410. So for me, it's a stay away. And I'm not even putting it in a parlay. Props to Jordan for the Silva Silva Law Firm parlay, which the obvious 3-person parlay would have been Silva Silva Sugar law firm, but I'm staying away from the parlay. I just have some respect for Rose's danger at that price, and I wouldn't want it to mess up my parlay. So I'm ignoring the fight for now, but potentially Natalia Silva by decision would be the way I look later in the week.
Do you still have respect in the betting market, at least the model, for Charles Johnson, year of our Lord here, 2026, and he's still 35, and you look at Alex Perez, no spring chicken himself at 33, because I think like, wow, Charles Johnson, am I still betting on him to start off this new year? He's not that much older here. He is a slightly decided favorite in this one, which I'm a little bit surprised by. You're looking at right now for the Charles Johnson side here, minus $1.90, comeback on Alex Perez is plus $1.58. Do you wanna weigh that type of price point with Charles Johnson? It feels a little hefty to me.
It felt hefty to me as well, and it feels heavy to the model
Okay.
as well. Something I wanted to know with Alex Perez, which is kind of what leaned me towards his size, first of all, is he is 3-5 since 2020. Not great, but let me tell you those 5. You got Amabayev, Tatsuro Taira,
Mm,
Muhammad Mokayev, Alexander Pantoja, if you've heard of him, and Davison Figueiredo, if you've heard of him as well.
pretty good.
So it's not exactly like he's dropping fights to a bunch of scrubs. He's had a tough go at it.
Yep.
I'm not sure I put Charles Johnson in that category whatsoever, at least not yet.
No.
Who knows? You could turn a career in a different way. But that strength of schedule gives me a little bit of lean towards Perez. Charles Johnson does have a reach advantage. XR percentages are about the same. Their striking is dang near identical as well. So we got to look for something. Alex Perez does maintain 74% control in clinch and groundwork with
Yes.
15 takedowns. It gives him a little bit of opportunity to take the fight in different areas if he needs to. I don't think Charles Johnson is in any way a rightful -185 or -190. You mentioned favorite. I grabbed Alex Perez earlier in the week at +170, and the markets
Ooh,
continued to drop because the model gives him a 70% win probability. Now, that's not to say now +170 gives him about 37% implied. That's not saying there's that much of a disparity there. It's more to say that my model thinks Alex Perez can win this 70% of the time,
yeah.
whereas the sports books only think he can win it 37% of the time. And I think at +170, I just had to grab a piece of that because I don't think Charles Johnson deserves to be that big a favorite.
Again, I always like to tell people, and say this all the time with Jensen on VSiN by the Books. I do not know what your picks are going to be and what the model is going to say until we do the show. That's why we do it organically, and we line up. Like I love the Alex Perez side here, and so that's another I think strong play in pocket. And again, Charles Johnson is one of my favorite fighters, and we'll somehow sometimes have very pleasant discourse on X, which is hard to have it on there on Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. So like He's a guy I find myself rooting for, but I just think at this price point, it's way too balloon, especially if the fight gets down to the ground. And I would expect Alex Perez to take the fight down to the ground where I think he'd have a decided advantage. I don't think you want to play the hands game with Charles Johnson for 15 minutes. And by the way, the total is sitting at 2.5, juiced heavily to the over, which says to me that the market at least is telling us that Alex Perez is gonna have his opportunities. It's not like
Mhm.
he's gonna get knocked out of there inside of 7.5 minutes. It's gonna be a quick night. He's gonna have time to work and try to get this fight down to the ground against Charles Johnson. So I see it going that way. I think we have a very live dog scenario here in Alex Perez. How excited are you, Rob, that we're gonna be able like, I'm gonna get snow this weekend here in the Tennessee, Kentucky border. You're not gonna have that in Vegas. I don't like, snow all you want. As long as Paramount Plus comes on Saturday night, I get to sit here and watch all these fights, Rob.
Yes, fight fans, whatever you gotta do, whether you pray or whatever God you wanna believe in, the one thing we don't want is to see a Paramount technical difficulty loading
No!
screen.
Oh, I'll go stir crazy. I will
I
absolutely
know.
lose my mind
We have
if that
waited
happens.
too long, and it's too exciting to have the UFC back on a new platform, new format. The fight library is amazing if you've already messed around on Paramount, if you've already signed up.
Yep.
So yes, that's the one thing I don't want to see is that fight goat live and like, oh no, their servers can't handle this. No, you got to be prepared for this. But I believe in Paramount. They spent way too much money for that to happen.
And this card really is top to bottom. It's a really good card. A lot of fighter names you're going to recognize if you're a casual MMA a better or watcher of the sport. So it should be a really good one to tune in to kick off our year here on First Strike at UFC 324. Rob, you're the best. Appreciate it as always, my man. Everybody, again, if you have not liked or subscribed, tell a friend about First Strike out there because we love doing the show each and every week. So for Jordan Sherwood and Rob Moreno, I'm Dave Ross. We'll see you next week right here on First Strike.